Hey everyone, this is Chef Luis Sanchez and happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to my show, A Seat at My Table, and let's cook together. Let's make an amazing chicken dish that's going to impress your loved ones. It's easy, there's a lot of steps, but trust me, it's easy. So let's go to my kitchen and let's do some cooking. Alright, Valentine's Day is almost here and we want to make something special that you can make for your loved ones. So we are featuring this dish actually at my restaurant as a three-course meal. So it's basically we're making the same thing for you here. So it's my take on a stuffed chicken. So there's going to be a lot of elements in this dish. Nothing is overly complicated, but there's a few things that we want to talk about. And I always like going over what the plan is, especially on something that has, 4 or so steps. So basically we're going to grab a chicken breast, which we have right here. This is kind of a large chicken breast. It's probably about 10, 12 ounces. And we're going to butterfly it, and I correct myself, we're not going to butterfly it, we're going to cut it all the way through, lengthwise. So we're going to end up with 2 pieces. Those pieces we're going to pound, because we're going to fill them, and we're going to roll them, and then eventually we're going to brown them, and then we're going to serve them over couscous. So before I get too ahead of myself, I want to show you kind of the grouping of what we're doing here. So the chicken is going to have a stuffing that it's made with a little bit of breadcrumbs, and then the cheese is going to be the binder agent on it, and we have some gouda cheese, which is right here. And then on the recipe I'll say shredded gouda, and I wanted to show you something because I couldn't find the gouda in a block at the store today, so I could shred it for you. But I found some high quality sliced gouda. So basically I just grabbed the slices and I cut them to make it look like a shred. Because at the end of the day, you have to think of the end product, which is going to be a filling, which is going to melt. And it's going to become something that's going to work with something else together. So it doesn't really matter if it's cut, as long as it's, or shredded, because it's going to become something else. So don't get too intimidated. If it says shredded and you have a block, then shred it. If you have slices, then cut them. But the one thing that we never want you to do on this show is not make it. So we always want you to cook. So the filling is going to have the gouda cheese, and then we're going to have some parmesan. We're going to be mixing the breadcrumbs, and we're going to saute some spinach with a little bit of garlic. So basically, it's sauteed spinach, cheese, breadcrumbs. That's the filling. The chicken, we're going to salt and pepper it. We're going to pound it. We're going to fill it with that stuffing that we're going to make, and then the couscous, which is going to be on the bottom of the plate, is going to be the starch of the plate. And what is couscous? It's this pearly, and this I've heard it referred to as Israeli couscous. So it's a little bit larger, and it's basically a pasta. So it's like a little pearl-shaped pasta. This morning I could not find it where it was just the couscous. So this is a mixture of couscous and some grains. I can see some yellow and red lentils in it. But for the purposes of showing you how to make it, it's going to be fine. So even if you go to the store and they don't have couscous, but you can make this with steamed rice, you can use farro, you can use quinoa, you don't have to use anything, you can use noodles if you want, but what we don't want you to do is not make it because you could not find this type of couscous. So couscous cooks on water just like pasta, and follow the instructions on your package. Ours says that it's going to be a little more liquid than the actual product, so we're going to do that. And then when it's hot, because that's something to remember too, we're gonna season it. It's not just going to be like a boiled pasta. We're going to season it with a little bit of butter, and we're going to fold in some spinach, and we're going to throw in some garlic in there, salt and pepper, and some cranberries, which are perfect for Valentine's Day, because once they get a liquid in them, they're going to plump up, and they're also going to be a little bit brighter red. So that is what we're doing. I wanted to walk you through it because, like I said, it's a multi-step recipe today, and we're going to show you how I deal with the chicken, which is going to be the pounding of the chicken. So my cutting board right now is only going to be used for the chicken, so I make sure that nothing else is touching it, or I cannot get any cross-contamination going. And then I have my chicken breast. This is a large one. It's probably even a little bit more than 12 ounces, probably closer to 14 ounces. And like I mentioned, we're going to butterfly it. No, I keep saying butterfly, but butterflying is when you open it, but you don't cut all the way through. So we're actually going to cut all the way through. So we're going to cut it into 2 pieces. And I believe that we've talked about this before. The idea here is to open it, and what it reminds me off as like when you're opening a bagel or something. So we're just gonna run the knife along all the way with our hand on top. We're gonna obviously wash our hands after. Your knife should be pretty sharp for this. You don't want a dull knife here. And you gotta make sure that you kind of split it in a way that it splits it into two, which is what we have here. So we have two pieces of chicken that look like the country of Argentina, for all of you guys that like geography like I do. And then we're gonna pound it. So what do we wanna do, or why do we pound something? We pound something to tenderize it sometimes. We pound something to extend it sometimes, because it's gonna look bigger and it's gonna cover more area. And then we also do pounding when you're gonna stuff something, so it's a thinner piece of meat that's wrapped around something. So this happens a lot with pork, with chicken, even with beef. So I don't always enjoy this, but for this dish it actually works. So this is just some plastic or film, and then we're gonna lay it here, and we're gonna put our one of the pieces of chicken, and we want to make it, you know, a little bit thinner. So we're gonna cover it with the plastic, and we're gonna pound it. If you don't have one of those fancy, you know, hammered looking, tenderizing looking things, do what I'm gonna do and just use the bottom of a heavy duty, in this case, Sautéed pan. That should be good. I'm going to flip it over. And what I'm trying to accomplish is to get like a rectangular shape with it. Good. You don't want to do it so much that you destroy your chicken. You want to do it enough that it makes sense. So I think I have a good start here. I'm going to unwrap it, and then we're going to go ahead and do the other one. And then I'm going to meet you over there on that side where we're going to make the filling, and we're going to do the couscous. So as we progress, as cooks watching the show, we're going to actually do two things at a time. But they're two simple things, but we're going to have two fires going on at a time, which is really the reality of cooking even at home. So we're going to start practicing with that. So I will see you guys in a little bit once we're over there, and I'm going to show you how to make the couscous and how to make the filling for this awesome chicken dish. See you guys soon. Alright, so here we are in the kitchen. We have our chicken pounded. I put it in the fridge because you want to always be safe with that kind of stuff. And then today, check it out, we have two burners going. So I'm going to start by turning both of our flames on. The one in the back is going to be the one that needs the least amount of attention from us. So that's why it's in the back. And that's the couscous. The couscous is going to be a process kind of like making rice or cooking pasta. So we're going to start with the fire on. And into the fire, we're going to add our water. And then this time we're measuring. And we're measuring because we're trying to follow the directions that came with it. Certain things I'm crazy, I don't have to measure because I know I can adjust as I go. But something like this, I'm going to go ahead and measure. So here's the water that the recipe called for. And then we're going to flavor that with a little bit of garlic powder. And then I have about 2 tablespoons of butter here, but I'm just going to add 1 now. And then at this point, all we got to do is just add a little bit of salt and add our couscous. So we're going to add our couscous and our salt, which I'm going to reach over there and grab 1 second. Perfect. And for this amount of couscous, it's probably about a teaspoon of salt. Once this comes to a boil, then we're going to probably cover it and then bring the fire down a little bit and then let the couscous absorb the water and therefore cook. So we're going to keep it going like that. And this one, which is just a regular Sautéed pan, we're going to add a little bit of oil, about I would think a tablespoon or so. And in the oil, and this has been heating up for a couple of seconds now, we're going to add our garlic. And then before you do anything, when you're cooking, before you add anything that you know you're going to have to mix something, have your utensils close by. So whether it's a wooden spoon, which I love, or tongs or whatever, you want to have things around you. So we're going to add the garlic. And I added the garlic right into the oil. So that's going to start flavoring the oil. What I mean is that there's a little puddle of oil, and I'm just setting the garlic on top. Garlic burns fast. So it's awesome when it's hot and flavorful, but it also gets bitter, like a lot of things, when it's burnt. So we're going to move it around a little bit, and now basically we have a little bit of a flavored oil. So in here, we're going to go ahead and add our spinach. It looks like a lot of spinach for 2 servings of chicken, but it will wilt, which means it will cook down, and it will be much smaller of a portion once we get going. At this point, I'm going to lower my heat a little bit, and I'm going to move my pan a little bit, and then basically we're just sauteing it. So it's going to come together, and then into this we're going to add our breadcrumbs so it gets a little bit of color too. And I'm adding my breadcrumbs now, and I'm going to add a little bit more oil just to brown those breadcrumbs, and this should take about a minute now. So the garlic is nice and golden brown, and we're looking for the same thing from the breadcrumbs. And remember, we are going to mix this mixture in with the cheese. So at this point, I'm going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And you want to cook this until the spinach kind of gets softened. So maybe another 30 seconds and we'll be done. Okay, good. I like where that is right now. We're going to let it cool down, and then we're going to fold in our cheese, and we're going to have our stuffing ready. Our couscous still needs about 15, 20 more minutes to cook. So we're going to leave that in the back burner. And in the meantime, we're going to reset over here in the front of the kitchen. I'm going to show you how to stuff this chicken breasts. And then we're going to do what we've done before, which is the flour, the egg wash, and the breadcrumbs, because we're going to get ready to saute the chicken as well. So see you guys over there in the kitchen. So we have our stuffing almost completed. We have our couscous that's cooking and needs about maybe 3 more minutes. So at some point in here, I'm going to turn around and turn that off. And then we have our pounded chicken. So a chicken is like an organic thing. So it's not a perfect science to get some sort of a rectangle out of a chicken breast. So sometimes you're going to have to do some adjustments. Like in the case of my chicken right here, I pounded it nicely, but I'm afraid that it might be a little tricky to show you how to wrap it. So I kind of shaped it in the sense that I cut one angle and I filled it into the other side. So we're gonna do a roll, and then we're gonna sort of patch the chicken there, and then the same weight of the chicken should hold it. So that's what that's gonna look like. This was gonna be a little bit easier. So here we have our spinach with the breadcrumbs and the garlic, and to that we're gonna add our cheeses. So we have our gouda, and we're going to add our parmesan to that too. And then we're going to mix it together. And then at this point, I really encourage you to start using your hands because you want to get it in there. And this is room temperature. Remember, we allowed the mixture of the breadcrumbs and the spinach to cool down a little bit. And then we're going to grab some of our filling with the cheese and the breadcrumbs and the spinach, and we're going to land it on top of our chicken breast. You don't want to overstuff this dish. You want to have enough that it flavors the dish, but not so much that it's going to be a problem when you roll, and also it's going to ooze out a lot of it. So then we're going to roll. So to roll, it's kind of like rolling sushi, which I don't think you've ever done. Maybe you have, I don't know, but it's just kind of like tucking and then rolling. Tucking in and then rolling. Tucking in and then rolling. So you kind of have this tubular shape of the chicken that's there. And after that, we're going to go ahead and do our dredging station. So we're going to place our chicken that's already rolled in here. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to grab our filling, put it in the middle here, and we're going to do the rolling again. If you have a little bit of spinach that's sort of clumping together, just make sure that you spread it so that every slice of chicken, because we're going to, brown this, and then we're gonna slice it into medallions. So you want to make sure that every slice gets a little bit of that spinach filling. And then at this point, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna flip, we're gonna tuck. Make sure you tuck in all the filling in. You're gonna pull towards you, pull towards you, pull towards you, and then you're gonna roll it. Okay? It's not going to look perfect right now, but trust me, because we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the flour, the egg, and the breadcrumb. It's going to cover a lot of the imperfections, and it's gonna give it a nice, even crust. So we're done with the chicken. I'm gonna turn around and wash my hands. I'm gonna get rid of my station right here, and then I'm gonna show you how I bread this. All right. So, like we've talked before, we have a traditional breading station, which in the case of mine, there's flour, and then in the middle there's the wet one, which is egg wash, which is basically one egg that's whipped together with a little salt, and then there's breadcrumbs. So everything has salt, everything is seasoned so far. And then we have a clean plate where we're gonna land our stuff that is already breaded. So I'm gonna move this out of the way so you can actually see everything. And we have enough. Oh, remember our couscous that's going on over here. I'm gonna check it out. And I think that's good. So I'm gonna turn it off. And our couscous is almost ready. It's still gonna be hot enough so we can mix in the other things that we wanna do to it. And if we need to, we'll turn it on. It's a little bit undercooked right now, but it's gonna be fine because we're gonna fold things in and it's gonna be perfect by the time we are ready to eat. So in here, once again, flour, egg, and breadcrumb. And then we're gonna grab our chicken. And we're gonna go in the first station, which is the flour. And we're rolling carefully. We're taking our time. We wanna make sure that the whole thing is covered in flour. And we also wanna make sure that it doesn't open up on us. If you feel more comfortable, by all means, 2 toothpicks on each side will do the trick too. And then we're gonna go into our egg wash. And the last is our breadcrumb. Normally, I've shown you before where I keep one hand dry and one hand wet. But in the case of this, I like holding it with both because we're trying to keep the shape of it. I couldn't really just let go of it. So I'm going to grab a little bit more breadcrumb, and this is gonna happen here. We're making everything live as we go. So I can tell that I'm gonna need a little bit more breadcrumb. So I'm gonna add it to my plate. And to that, I'm gonna add a little bit more salt. I'm gonna mix that in, and then we're gonna go again with our, see how I shake things? I want them to be even. So when you put your chicken, it touches like all the parts of the chicken at once. So same thing, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna roll it over, and roll it over, making sure it stays closed. Roll it over, make sure that everything is covered in the flour. And then at this point, we're gonna go into the egg wash. Roll it over, making sure it's closed. Shake, shake, shake. And then we go into the breadcrumb. Making sure that the whole chicken roll, I guess, it's completely covered on the breadcrumbs. So I think we're looking pretty good in here. Gonna reshape it. And I'm gonna show you over here. I can get rid of these 3 plates. And basically, we have our chicken that's completely breaded here. So next, we are going to brown our chicken, and then I should, even though I have sticky fingers and it kind of looks weird, I'm going to talk about the sauce, which is just a mixture of something called pomegranate molasses, which I have here. And if you don't have something like that available for you, you can just use pomegranate juice, and we're going to mix it with a little bit of chicken stock and a little bit of butter to finish the sauce. It's very simple. So we'll see you guys back in a second. So we're going to brown our chicken. See you. All right, it's chicken time, everyone. So we have our chicken that's been stuffed and it's been breaded now. Remember that 3 station that we did over there on that side of the kitchen? I have a large skillet that can go in the oven. So a large skillet that is oven safe. And then we're going to add some oil, about a little more than a tablespoon, because we have 2 large stuffed chicken breasts to do. And the trick here is going to be to heat up your oil, which the pan was already kind of hot, and to place your chicken in that oil. If you can remember and you can kind of see it, there's an opening, like, or the roll began, right, the seam. And we're going to try to land our chicken down on that side. And what that's going to do is sort of seal the chicken for us. So we're sealing and searing right now. So both of my chickens in there. And we're going to carefully roll it so it gets brown on all sides. And then we're going to throw it in the oven. So the same thing that we always do. We're sort of searing to get a crust, to get some flavor, and then we're going to throw it in the oven to finish cooking. So that is the process that we're following right now. And after that, we have the color that we want. Then we're going to throw it in the oven, and then we're going to work on the sauce, which is just a simple mixture of pomegranate molasses, which you can find in just about any Middle Eastern market. And if that is a complication that you can't find it, just get some pomegranate juice, the palm pomegranate, put it in the pan and reduce it, and add a little bit of sugar and a little bit of vinegar to it, and it's going to give you something close to it. You want to reduce it until it's kind of like the texture of maple syrup. So my pan was hot, so I'm going to carefully start rolling this, because I have a feeling that we're already getting a nice brown color, like you can see. See the cheese starting to ooze out, but that's what we want. We want a nice crust in it. So we're going to do it one more time on the other side, and then we're going to throw it in the oven. So you want to make sure that you're careful when you flip. You want to make sure that if you need a little bit more oil, which seems like I do, I'm going to add it right now. You want to make sure that you cook your chicken all the way through in the oven. So that's going to take about 15 minutes. I have my oven at 350 degrees. And I'm going to do one more roll over here. And one more roll over here. And at this point, you want to make sure that before this goes in the oven, your pan is oven safe. So if you have one of those that has a wooden handle or a plastic handle, some plastic handles can hold a lot of heat, but I would strongly suggest getting a metal handle. And remember too, when you bring it out of the oven, a handle is going to be extremely hot. So you want to be careful when you bring it out of the oven as well. So I think I am ready to go in the oven with this chicken. And then we're going to move straight into the other part, which is the sauce. So this goes in the oven, which I already have heated up. I'm going to make sure that they're there. And then, as my fire is still going, I'm going to go in here with my pomegranate molasses. And it's this deep, rich color that's perfect for Valentine's Day. And to this, we're going to add a little bit of chicken stock, just about the same amount as the molasses. And then you want to time it so that your sauce is completely reduced as the chicken comes out. So we're going to sort of finish it, but not fold in the butter. So we're going to heat it up a little bit, because the chicken's going to take about 15 minutes in the oven. So I just wanted to mix this together. And I'm going to add the cranberries. And then to thicken it up, I have a little bit of cornstarch, about maybe half a teaspoon with a little bit of water that's going to thicken up the sauce. So at this point, when I start seeing that my sauce is starting to bubble, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of cranberries. And at this point, like I said, I'm waiting for my chicken, so I'm going to give it 1 minute or so, and then I'm going to turn it off. When the chicken is done, we're going to turn the fire back on, fold in the butter and the cornstarch, and then basically just pour on top of our chicken. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes when the chicken is out and the couscous is ready and we played and everything comes together, guys. All right, see you guys soon. All right, welcome back. Our couscous is fully cooked. I have it here on the fire. It's literally really hot. It just finished cooking. So while it's hot, that's when we're going to add the things to flavor it. So, sorry, I'm chewing on a cranberry because I love them so much. So I'm adding the butter to it. And I'm especially adding the spinach. So this is sort of the vegetable too for our dish. So we're adding this to a very hot couscous so that the heat from the couscous is going to fold. It's going to allow us to cook this a little bit. So I'm going to fold it in. I'm using a spatula here. I don't want to break the rice too much. It's easy to call it rice because it resembles rice, but it's not really a rice. So take your time. It will get easier as you go. But I want you to do this on the pot too, because A, it will retain its heat, and then two, there's one less thing to worry about cleaning. So I will fold it in. I'm going to make sure that I can show you that's how that's looking over here. And little by little, the spinach is starting to soften up. So it's almost where I want it. Perfect. And at this point, we're going to flavor it with even more cool stuff. Remember, this is Valentine's Day, so we're going to try to make it really happy. We have some cranberries in here. These are just dried cranberries, not the fresh kind. And then we have some pears, which are just crunchy and sweet and good. And then we're going to add a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt to taste. And we're going to fold it in one more time. And then our chicken right now is in the oven, so this is a perfect time to do this. I'm just going to leave this on top of the stove, and we're going to come back when the chicken is done, and I'm going to show you the final plate. All right, everyone, so our chicken is out of the oven. We let it rest here on this cutting board. They look great. They're golden brown. You can see a little bit of the cheese oozing out, but that's okay because that's part of the flavor. And now we're going to plate. So our sauce is finished. We added the cranberries, a little bit of that cornstarch, and a little bit of butter just to make it silky and kind of shiny. And this is the way I like to plate this. Here's our couscous that we made with the spinach, the cranberries, and the pears. And we're going to put a little bit of the couscous down. And this has a good amount of the spinach, so this kind of counts as your vegetables today. And it is a special day. I found this long plate here. You can do it in any way you want. I think that 2 breasts of chicken might be good for even 3 people, but we'll see how it looks when we slice it. So one of the things is with chicken and really anything else when it comes out of the oven, you want to allow it a little bit of time to kind of come together again. So things are hot. If you go in there and you cut, then you're going to get a lot of those juices running out. So I did let it rest for a good 5 minutes here, and now we're going to do medallions. So if you want to get really fancy, you can cut the ends of this. So you start on the chicken part, and you want them to be about the thickness of your finger. So we're going to do probably 5 per person. I think should be good. And just wait until you see this. So I like moving them all together like this, and then planting them on top of that couscous, and then we're gonna fan them out a little bit. So you can see, we worked so hard to get that filling in there, right? So it's got the spinach and the gouda and the breadcrumbs, and it's just great. So now our sauce, which is, it's thick, but it's still saucy, right? It's velvety and everything, and it's tart and sweet, and it's got the cranberries that we added to it, and it just complements. Look at that. Even like you do this all the time, but every time you do it, it's like you just feel like such a good technical chef when you make something like this. So this is not very hard. I'm a big fan of this sauce, so I'm going to go a little crazier on it. And then the last thing to do is to taste it, but that's a great portion. So this is something that is going to definitely impress your loved ones on Valentine's Day or any other day, and it's different enough that you can surprise them with it, but it's also relatable enough because it's chicken. It's not something like, you're not doing like frog legs and, oh, let's try that today for the first time. So it's still chicken. It shows that you care. It shows a level of effort that you should and definitely should give to a loved one. So now we're going to taste. So a little chicken, a little bit of the sauce, and some of that couscous. It's almost like holiday-like, but Valentine's Day-like. So it's great. I really want you to make this at home for your loved ones, and I want you to tell me about it. So please comment below and let me know what kind of experience you had making it. And that's it. I just want to keep cooking. I want to keep showing you some stuff, and Sometimes they're going to get a little more elaborate like this dish because it is a special occasion, and then we have other ones that are going to be simple. But please follow, please spread the love and spread the word and tell people to start watching A Seat at My Table. This is Chef Luis Sanchez once again. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.